G'day global citizens and welcome to Knowing Intellectual Motivation. Today I'm going to be talking about the Johari Window. So what is the Johari Window? Well, let me give you a bit of background. Two gentlemen, one named Joe or Joseph, and the other one named Harry, Johari, back in 1955 devised a way of being more self-aware or some self-conceptualization, how we fit in a group dynamic or in a social setting or in the scheme of society as a whole. And so they devised this window up into 4 quadrants. Okay, and the first quadrant is basically what we share and express of ourselves and what we put out into, chatting to everyone and talking to everyone. And this can be over different sort of modes. It can be mainly on like face to face, but it can also be across like Zoom or FaceTiming videos, or even on content like this. So that's the first quadrant, what we share about ourselves. Then there's the second quadrant, which is what we don't know that we're sharing, but other people seem to see we are sharing, and how they perceive us, which is, I guess, the tone and our non-verbal body language, our hand gestures, and whether we're sitting back and looking off into the distance when they're talking, and that all sort of leads to some sort of perception of whether that we're engaged or not engaged and how interested we are in it. And it leads to the way we connect with others. The third quadrant is one that everyone's sort of blind to, both ourselves and the others are blind to. And it's just what is actually being said and what is actually being picked up in, I guess, a general sense. And then the fourth quadrant is that something we haven't discovered about ourselves. And it's like they're blind to it, we're blind to it, and it hasn't happened yet. It's the yet to be discovered part about ourselves. Just like me being in front of this camera right now is something I never thought I'd be doing. And when I look back, say 4 years ago, I didn't think I'd be sitting here talking about a Johari window. So that's being able to sort of creatively imagine some possibilities about ourselves and how we can change and adapt ourselves using these other 3 quadrants of the windows. So you sort of get this question about, how do I know what other people think of me? Well, there's only really one way to find out, is to find yourself some people that you can trust, or at least maybe record yourself sometimes and play it back. But by finding some people that you can trust, you can sort of ask them, how do you feel like you come off sometimes? Do you think I talk a little bit fast, or do you think I talk a bit slow? Do I interrupt all the time? Do I sort of stare off in the distance? Do I look at my phone when you're talking to me? These sort of little things that we don't often realize we're doing, they're sort of automatic behaviors where we think we can still hear and listen, and most of the time we can pick up a bit of information, but sometimes we're not. And then obviously when we're in the first quadrant, we're sitting there and we're fully engaged in what we're saying, and we feel like we're able to tell what's going on, but we're not aware of that our hands are moving sometimes and that our eyes are moving, and when we're talking we're fully eye contact, and when they talk we sort of stare off into the distance or something. There's these ideas of being able to harness all 4 of the windows to at least be able to bring ourselves to be more aware, more self-aware of what's going on, and to be able to connect better with other people. So if I may, I'll reflect now on a little bit on how it's helped me improve my attitude and purpose in life, is by, I guess, small changes of what I've had to start with, but it's little bits by little bit I've been able to see that I feel I was coming across one way, and other people sort of think I was being pretentious or patronizing in the ways I speak. And it was because I think there was probably a little bit of impulsivity, in a sense of the inner monologue was like, oh, I know what you're trying to say, and I'd finish it for them, or I would sort of assume that I knew where they're going, rather than anticipating or sitting back and also anticipating what they were going to say, but also preempting what they were going to say, rather than sitting back and sort of letting the conversation flow and letting them have their turn, which again does fall into the same sort of category as your interpersonal skills or your interpersonal capacities. But there's this other way of looking at it too, is that we can also understand that we connect with people, but we also can influence people. And the best thing is that if you learn that in a positive way, you can influence people to change and make better decisions for themselves by just being able to explain what you're trying to convey more effectively, then you're going to get a little bit more connection, you know what I mean? And you're going to influence people in a positive way, which it ripples out, and they'll influence other people as well. So the good thing to pick up from being able to sort of, you know, analyze these different quadrants of the Johari window is there's also the undiscovered self. And obviously there's some things that we never tell other people, because we all sometimes think, you know, the odd strange thing, and we don't want to sort of blurt it out because people might think different of us, and that's fine, as we don't want to self-disclose anything or everything, should I say, or anything that might damage our reputation or our recognition. So they're good, but at the same time as they help us sort of come to grips with maybe that we're not perfect as a human, and that part of being a human is dealing with this juggle between how we see ourselves and how others see us, and how we could see ourselves in the future. That's the best way I look at it. And for me, I had a group of friends that, you know, I would come and see, and they'd, you know, like, I wouldn't say just a bunch of group of friends, but like friends would come and go, and I would never have some really consistent friends. And for most of my teens and probably early 20s, there was a lot of, I guess, revolving door friends that I had in my life, where I let them come in, and after a while they wouldn't hang around. And I have this way of, I guess, trying to help and fix everything, which it could be typically a male trait, where I see a problem, I try to see a need, fill a need, and it makes me feel valued. But at the same time, some people just wanted to talk, and by sitting back a little bit and using Johari Window and trying to see how others may be seeing me, and not just in the close context, but like even how my neighbours might see me when I take off in the morning driving in the car with the foot flat to the floor and exhilarating like all buggery. That sort of, it may not be coming across how I want to be coming across, which is, you know, a rude, inconsiderate person at 5 o'clock in the morning. Where now I'm a little bit more mindful of some of my actions and how they come across. But it can be a very, very fine tuned, because like I said, small or little bits at a time, you want to adjust your behavior very conservatively, because if you get too much into it, you become very isolated in your thinking and very self-absorbed with how am I coming across, and you sort of start to feel a bit suppressed in yourself. But what I will take away from it, and what I will try and help most people understand, is if you can try and find someone that's very close to you, who you feel is going to give you an honest opinion, and just when they start to show you some sort of, I don't know, despair or less interest in what you're talking about, or maybe if they're upset with how you're talking or coming across offended, to ask for some feedback, in a sense, that say, look, I don't mean to stop you here, but if you can, ask, why are you sort of upset with me, or why are you not interested in what I'm saying? And I want some honest feedback. Let them know it's so that I can make improvements, so that I can get better at communicating with you. And what you can do is then you can adapt this to different areas, because once you start to learn these techniques and you practice them regularly, you'll get better and better at them. And then the reward of getting better at them is they'll become second nature. And before you know it, I've been able to experience it now in the last 10 years. I've got some really good friends that have been able to, you know, constantly come around, constantly check up on each other. We have this back and forth chat, and it may be like a couple of weeks or a month between chatting, but it literally feels like it was the other day. So that for me has been one of the most rewarding parts about learning about the Johari Window. And in the sense that, I guess, in the last 2 years, it's really been starting to sort of, I guess, be highlighted in my mind that there's some bits about myself that I am not aware of, the undiscovered. So that leads me to being very creative and imaginative about where I can take my life, and where, you know, what I can do with my life, because we only have this short amount of time on this planet, and I want to be able to experience as much of life as possible. So if you've got any great ideas of where the Johari Window may be able to help you, you know, drop a like, drop a comment, and tell us about your experience with it, because for me, it's been incredibly eye-opening. It's like taking off the old glasses and put on a new set of glasses, and I can see how I engage a lot more with people now, and how people are willing and wanting to engage with me. I get calls from people and testimonials about how great we catch up, and really enjoy our chats. So it's been really good to sort of hear this good, genuine feedback from people. So if you can, drop us a like, obviously, subscribe if you want to for more content like this, and I'll see you on the next one.